Imagine he's teaching them on cryptocurrencies at the age of 5.
5-year-olds are learning
Absolutely.
crypto.
They need to.
This is the Beyond the Stage podcast series, and we look behind the scenes at the TEDx Jumeirah Beach Park's Peaches. And I'm very, very honored to be joined by none other than Mr. Maher Al Kaabi. He's got 30 years of experience in banking, digital economy, and education. And education is something that he's very passionate about. How are you, Maher?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for the introduction.
So I introduced you as an expert across a number of fields, but I'm sure you wear so many more hats. We were just chatting before recording. Tell us all about your very rich career and what else you do.
I started as a programmer who used to program and make games in my teens, and that led me to study computer engineering, computer science. When I graduated, accidentally, I actually formed a company with other 2 partners who were probably 10 years younger than I am. And then I started working in Citibank. And Citi has a lot of ethos and values where it affirmed what I believed in. It's all about making sure that we do the right things and we innovate all the time, constantly, so we can help the humans as much as possible. I had 4 pillars. Wherever I worked, is all about, first thing is to take care of people and make sure the moment you take care of people, all the other 3 pillars will automatically come. So building up leaders and breeding leaders among the team, that was the most important vision I have. And then as I grew and start working more and getting out of the job after 30 years of working in banking and experience over there, I realized that there's something was going wrong in the education system. Because if you look at all the studies, you realize that while the realities of the world is shaping and changing, unfortunately, we're not making sure our children, our students are really aware of that. And I'm saying this from experience because I sit as a chairman of a couple of schools. I also go and speak in universities, so I'm actually occupied with the students. And we've also, because of that, we created Academy in the group we are. So we bring the founders' children, we bring the people who are working with us, their children, and some select friends and their children, just to make sure they are ready for the new realities, the skills that they are today missing in the education system.
Now, that's very fascinating. Talk us through the conventional education system. What is wrong with it? What elements of it need to go? And how are you changing that?
Sure. If you look at how the education system reformed, they started in the 19th century and they were made for the industrial age at that point of time. So they were actually made for you to work in a factory per se. They're not really evolved. Now, whenever we say that, we need to make sure that we keep the bell curve in our mind. That doesn't mean there are some good education system, but they're outliers. They're not mainstream today. So what is missing today is, how do we make sure that the student understand the new realities of digital economy, circular economy, which is sustainability basically, because we keep on talking about sustainability and save the environment at our level. But if we believe that this is a problem to stay for a long time, why are we not teaching that to our children? And then health is another challenge. Why are we not teaching them about health? And it's leading to mental health. If you look at the Harvard Medical Business School, they came up saying that the people will actually, 50% of the world population will face a mental health problem. We may not see it, but it is real under the surface. It's really there. They also need to be aware of the geopolitical situation, which is about how do we create the right leaders for the future, who are right thinkers, right innovators. We don't do that thing. The outliers are doing it, but it's not the mainstream. Then the other thing is our value system. Our value system is really getting an auto update much more frequently than our apps. So how do we go back and instill that value system in them? So we're missing that. We're missing the critical thinking part of it. The technology is upon us. And so far that the AI is spreading so fast that people are talking about AI. But there is the beauty and the beast situation over there. The beauty part of it is going to help us a lot. It's going to do a lot of things for us. For example, Figure, a company which does a humanoid robot, just came up with the first model of it, which is amazing. It will help the humans in terms of doing a lot of chores, for example. But there is also the beast situation where the people believe the technology will actually override us, i.e. they'll control us. The Skynet situation, the Terminator movie. If that is the case, and the people strongly believing about that, why are not preparing our children to be in the center and command of managing the technology rather than technology managing us?
You know what? That sounds very scary, that we're not preparing our children enough, because in the past decade or so, we've seen technology evolve exponentially, and it was only a matter of time before one of us mentioned AI. So how does AI if applied correctly, how does it look like in a school setting? How can we better utilize it to teach our children about it and use it to teach our children in a way that they can adapt to the modern world?
Sure. One of the first things schools done the moment they heard about ChatGPT, which came up in November 2020, they did it probably a bit late. They banned it. They said, you're not allowed to use ChatGPT. We did the reverse of that thing at our work. The first thing I did as a board member, I said, we have ChatGPT. I want you guys to use it sensibly. You look at the idea and so forth, look at the answers and reframe it, because we want technology to help us. So when one of the school, what they did, we said, look, okay, why don't we introduce something for the 14 years old, first of all, for them to understand what AI is as a concept. We believe AI just started now. I'm doing my doctorate in AI, and that to into sustainability. AI actually predate to 1642. So it's really long ago. It was coined AI in 1955. It only ChatGPT made it very prevalent and unknown, and people got to know about it. But the actual work, we were working on models and preparing and studying humans and their behavior back in early 2000 in my earlier company. So what we now to bring that to the education system for them, first of all, to understand the concept, understand what are the do's and don'ts of that thing. How can AI really help us as children, students, and also human in the future? So I'm against those who are saying that you cannot use AI tools in the education system, because do I really need to learn every single thing which I'm not going to use in my practical world? While we have improved quite a lot in terms of literacy ratios have went up, but we're still stuck in the 3 R's, which is reading, writing with R, arithmetic with R. That tells you something, that we are really stuck in that. So our brain, the metacognitions, we're not teaching them that. We're not teaching them problem solving. We're not teaching them emotional intelligence and communication. And we're not teaching them how can we communicate with this technology we have today. That's why their span of control is like less than 20 seconds today, because we're not equipping them with that. So we need to auto change the education system.
How do we change it? It seems like a mammoth of a task. I mean, you were able to do it with, a small group of people, but there are millions of teachers around the world that need to be upskilled, and different types of curricula that need to really change completely.
Sure.
How do we do that?
Now, before that, if you look at some of the very good teaching systems like the Montessori, which is started by Maria Montessori post the World War I, and the IB curriculum in 1970s, and the Swedish system, Norwegian system of education, Singaporean system of education, that's mean these government took initiative, self-initiative to make that happen. UAE is making the same initiative. If you look at the government schools today, and although none of my children study in a government school, only for 1 year, my daughter went to a government school and came out of it because she was very comfortable with the private school of the same mentality. But they have inculcated education in terms of technology awareness in the education system. Imagine when the iPad came in, UAE adopted it first to make sure that the people become digital savvy. They understand it. So that means there's a lot of collaborative effort need to be taken. But my always message is, taking care of education is one angle. Home is another important angle, because everything happens at home. One of the things I faced, or challenges we faced, when we teach certain things to the children, when they go back home, they unlearn them, because the parents are not aware of them. Why? Because both parents are working. They don't have the time to go through this thing. So take a simple habit: to be sustainable, to save the food, to not use plastic and so forth. When we started teaching them this, they go back home and they saw a lot of food wastages. So they were unlearning and they were into this quagmire. What do we need to do? So it should be a collaborative effort by everybody. And I believe with right steps we take, phase steps we take, we'll be able to do. There is something comes to my mind, Khan Academy, an amazing academy in US. It started only out of a necessity and need that he wanted to teach his nieces and nephews, right? And he wanted to do it online. So he said, okay, why don't I make it a YouTube for it that they can repeat it again and again? And guess what? He was an investment banker, successful one, and a very smart one. Salman Khan, not the actor, by the way.
No.
So he started that. And then when AI actually came in, permeated, and he's a smart guy, he used AI to help stress the gap of children they have today to understand it. Because you know what happens usually in the school? The moment you get, for example, a 70 mark in your grade and you pass and you go to the next grade, that 30, which is missing in your gap in understanding, nobody addresses it. So you go to next grade with that gap, unfortunately. Now with AI, you'll be able to provide a bespoke solution to every child, so you'll be able to help them to learn whatever you've missed. But with the classroom setting, you cannot do that because there's a limited time. The teacher does not have enough time and room and brain power to address the gap of every one of them. That's why AI come into the place to help us. And this is where technology can help us to really become better in what we do.
AI is personalizing, hyper-personalizing all industries, especially education.
Yeah.
Now, the classroom setting is, 25 children to one teacher. There's 5 different subjects. It's 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. At least that's what my kids are at the moment. What does the future classroom look like when when technology is applied properly and the kids are really optimizing their learning?
You've touched on amazing points, to be honest with you. In my slides, when I'm going to be showing the TEDx, actually I brought a classroom picture from the 1930s and 40s. And I've taken pictures of the classroom of the university where my daughter studies. She taken the picture, and my son took the pictures also of his classroom in one of the good schools. And the university she goes to is top 1 in the UAE. They exactly look the same. The other one is black and white. This is colorful. And there's a smart board, but the arrangement is the same. And when I sit in these classrooms to see how the education is done, given that I'm the chair of the board as well, they've not really changed. So what they should look like, there are good examples of schools doing that already. So for example, if you go to a citizen school, he's a friend of mine who started this. It took him 8 years to design a school for the future. Imagine he's teaching them on cryptocurrencies at the age of 5.
5-year-olds are learning
Absolutely.
crypto.
They need to, because if you want them to understand the reality, so you bring that concept slowly to them for them to understand it. But you know what he did first? He actually made sure that he reskills his teachers. He provide that acumen to the teachers for them to understand and become relevant. He actually changed them to become entrepreneur themselves. And it's the first school in UAE, probably in the world, accept cryptocurrencies for the school fees. And if you go to their classrooms over there, they're more of a collaborative, working as team rather than tables and chairs facing a classroom. So it's more people sitting together and working together collaboratively, which is what exactly IB curriculum does, Montessori curriculum does. So it's all about learning outside. So they don't spend a lot of time in the classroom. They spend a lot of time actually outside the classroom. So if there is a teaching class on sustainability, on actually agriculture, they go and do an agriculture and they start planting over there in the school itself. So there is an academy comes and do and help them. And it's also run by my friend of mine as well from Abu Dhabi. So he comes. So there's all practical stuff. And they teach them exactly what they really need to learn and know about in the future. So they bring the future back to the classroom. This is how the classroom should look like.
I mean, I wish that my kids could go to such a classroom, could experience that education, that type of education, because it is the future. Now, do you think the UAE is open to changing the face of education, the landscape of education? Do you think we have the right framework here so that we can see more of that type of school?
Also an excellent question. I think UAE is in forefront in making a change. The two things the founding fathers of the country talked about was first education and health. And it's an ever-evolving system. If you look at the forward thinking of, we were the first country to appoint an AI minister back in 2017 when the world did not really know about AI much. That tells you how forward-looking we are. And education is embedded over there. The good thing UAE does, before we take it to education, and I'll give an example of what we've done, they first train all their government officials on AI, sustainability, circular economy, just name it. So they make sure whatever we do, we first implement it at government level. Then we go and coordinate with private levels and make sure that this is there. So what they did in the education system, they actually brought these technologies and says, now you educators, we've trained you. We need to make sure that we put the right curriculum. So that's why there's an ongoing process constantly to bring this back to the education. And two key trends going on globally today is the digital economy and circular economy. And we launched our digital economy roadmap back in April 2022 by the Ministry of Economy, Abdullah bin Tawq, His Excellency. And we also launched our circular economy is how do we become circular in nature? So both of these concepts now are in schools. We first tested it in schools 2 years ago. Her Excellency Maryam Al-Mihiri, the former minister. So she ran that program and she was personally involved over there. And so you can see it's coming from top down to make sure that this curriculum address the future needs. So UAE is in front in making that happen. But the good thing about it, you cannot make a program and say that's it. Because the world realities will constantly change. So you need to adopt and evolve accordingly the education system. Because the education system is the only system in the world today did not advance. If you look at medicine field, mathematicians, any astronomy, any other field, they've taken a quantum leap to what they are in 60, 80 years ago. Education system remains the same. And that's why you're trying to make a stride and change it. But we also need to be mindful that we are connected to the world. I.e., if these people, when you go to universities, they're still going to ask you, what did you study over there? So we're trying to make it in a subtle way that we also don't encroach on them to go and seek higher education as well.
Maher, I'd like to know, how can we teach our kids to adopt technology, to be, utilizing AI and different types of advanced technology, learning crypto, while balancing that with preserving their values?
Sure. I think preserving values is number one. So we need to go back to our roots, where we come from. What are the values we want to teach? I think value number one is family. We need to make sure that we have those ties with the families. And if you remember, this year is the year of community. And that tells you there is a message behind it, that we need to make sure that as a family, as a community, we should stand up and come together. The overarching value is respect for one another, without actually knowing what ethnicity you come from, your color of skin, or your background, or religion, or your faith. As long as we're respecting each other and we have that overarching principle, I think we can then teach them anything else. Everything else will fall into the place. But values are the most important thing, which is the moral anchor. Because if we look at the world today, it is unfortunate that with all the advancement of technologies that we have, cultural reform we have, international partnership that we have created, we're still pleading for saving the humanity. So going back to values, it's what's going to save us hopefully in the future.
That's a beautiful line. Now, to wrap it up, if people at TEDx Jumeirah Beach Park, if people on Sunday took away one thing from your talk, what would that one thing be?
Be close to your children. Make sure you are teaching by following yourself and giving them impact. That's very important. We, I think, missed the values today. We need to do that.
Well, thank you so much, Maher Al Kaabi. He is an expert in banking, digital economy, and of course, education, something that he's very passionate about, and his main topic at the TEDx Jumeirah Beach Park. Thank you.
Thank you.